The battle with Grendel's mother. The night after Grendel's defeat, his mother, a monster who lives at the bottom of a cold, dark lake, goes to Heorot to avenge her son's death. She kills Hrothgar's closest friend, retrieves Grendel's arm from the rafters where Beowulf had hung it, and returns to her lake. When Beowulf hears of this, he pursues her. He leaped into the lake, would not wait for anyone's answer. The heaving water covered him over. For hours he sank through the waves. At last he saw the mud of the bottom, and all at once the greedy she-wolf, who ruled those waters for 100 years, discovered him, saw that a creature from above had come to explore the bottom of her wet world. She welcomed him in her claws, clutched at him savagely, but could not harm him, tried to work her fingers through the tight ring-woven mail on his breast, but tore and scratched in vain. Then she carried him, armor and sword and all, to her home. He struggled to free his weapon and failed. The fight brought other monsters swimming to see her catch, a host of sea beasts who beat at his mail shirt, stabbing with tusk and teeth as they followed along. Then he realized suddenly she'd brought him into someone's battle hall, and there the water's heat could not hurt him, nor anything in the lake attack him through the building's high arching roof. A brilliant light burned all around him, the lake itself like a fiery flame. All right, so once again, this passage kind of illustrates Beowulf as kind of the ultimate epic hero. All right, he's just defeated Grendel for the Danes. He didn't have to do that, but he did it anyways, and that's what he agreed to do. But now there's another threat. There's another bit of danger that's going up against the Danes, and without even thinking, he jumps into this lake to pursue Grendel's mother. He sees another threat and immediately goes after it, doesn't even think about it. And of course, this will only add to his fame. I mean, what's better than going to another country, defeating the monster, and then seeing another bit of danger and, defeating that as well. So this is essentially all for the glory, like we've talked about. And so she sees him as he kind of jumps in the lake pursuing her. She sees him and she's bringing him down further, deeper into the water. And eventually she takes him into her battle hall. So now he's no longer having to hold his breath, and now they're kind of like in this underwater dome or bubble or something, right? And they're about to battle. Then he saw the mighty water witch and swung his sword, his ring-marked blade, straight at her head. The iron sang its fierce song, sang Beowulf's strength. But her guest discovered that no sword could slice her evil skin, that Hrunting could not hurt her, was useless now when he needed it. They wrestled. She ripped and tore and clawed at him, bit holes in his helmet, and that too failed him for the first time in years of being worn to war. It would earn no glory. It was the last time anyone would wear it. So Beowulf immediately, he just tries to, use his weapon against this monster, but much like his men when they tried to help him battle Grendel, man-made weapons do not work on her either. All right, and immediately he realizes that he's going to have to use his bare hands like he used when he was fighting her son Grendel. But Beowulf longed only for fame, leaped back into battle. He tossed his sword aside, angry. The steel-edged blade lay where he dropped it. If weapons were useless, he used his hands, the strength in his fingers. So fame comes to the men who mean to win it and care about nothing else. He raised his arms and seized her by the shoulder. Anger doubled his strength. He threw her to the floor. She fell. Grendel's fierce mother and the Geat's proud prince was ready to leap on her, but she rose at once and repaid him with her clutching claws, wildly tearing at him. He was weary, that best and strongest of soldiers. His feet stumbled, and in an instant she had him down, held helpless, squatting with her weight on his stomach. She drew a dagger, brown with dried blood, and prepared to avenge her only son, but he was stretched on his back, and her stabbing blade was blunted by the woven mail shirt he wore on his chest. The hammered links held. The point could not touch him. He had traveled to the bottom of the earth, Aegithos' son, and died there if that shining woven metal had not helped. And holy God, who sent him victory, gave judgment for truth and right, ruler of the heavens, once Beowulf was back on his feet and fighting. So things are not really going well for Beowulf at this moment. All right. He can't use a weapon. He's got to use his bare hands, and she seems to have the advantage over him. I mean, she's able to get him down, and she's about to stab him with a dagger that's brown with dried blood on it, and his mail shirt essentially saves his life. But now he's back on his feet, and he's ready to go at it again. He's not giving up. Then he saw hanging on the wall a heavy sword hammered by giants, strong and blessed with their magic, the best of all weapons, but so massive that no ordinary man could lift its carved and decorated length. He drew it from its scabbard, broke the chain on its hilt, and then, savage now, angry and desperate, lifted it high over his head and struck with all the strength he had left, caught her in the neck and cut it through, broke bones and all. Her body fell to the floor lifeless, the sword was wet with her blood, and Beowulf rejoiced at the sight. All right, so, essentially he finds this giant sword. It's a magical sword made by giants. No mere human would be able to lift this sword on their own, but Beowulf, he sees it, grabs it, and immediately chops her head off. So he's able to defeat her, and yes, he uses a weapon, but he's still, in a way, using his hands because, no ordinary human could use this weapon. No one could lift this weapon. Only he, the strongest man alive, could do something like that. The brilliant light shone suddenly, as though burning in that hall, and as bright as heaven's own candle lit in the sky. He looked at her home, then following along the wall, went walking, his hands tight on the sword, his heart still angry. He was hunting another dead monster, and took his weapon with him for final revenge against Grendel's vicious attacks, his nighttime raids over and over, coming to Heorot when Hrothgar's men slept, killing them in their beds, eating some on the spot, 15 or more, and running to his lonesome moor with another such sickening meal waiting in his pouch. But Beowulf repaid him for those visits, found him lying in his corner, armless exactly as that fierce fighter had sent him out from Heorot, then struck off his head with a single swift blow. The body jerked for the last time, then lay still. So Beowulf, he's probably really hopped up on adrenaline at this point after defeating Grendel's mother, and he goes looking for Grendel's body because, as we remember, Grendel's mother took Grendel's arm when she attacked Heorot. All right, and so now he's got to find a new trophy, and so he sees Grendel in the corner there and decides to chop off his head so he can take that as his new trophy. So back on the surface, okay? Back on the surface, everybody's kind of waiting for Beowulf to return. The wise old warriors who surrounded Hrothgar, like him staring into the monster's lake, saw the waves surging and blood spurting through. They spoke about Beowulf. All the graybeards whispered together and said that hope was gone, that the hero had lost fame and his life at once, and would never return to the living, come back as triumphant as he had left. Almost all agreed that Grendel's mighty mother, the she-wolf, had killed him. The sun slid over past noon, went further down. The Danes gave up, left the lake, and went home, Hrothgar with them. The Geats stayed, sat sadly watching, imagining they saw their lord, but not believing they would ever see him again. So up on the surface, everybody is kind of giving up hope that Beowulf's going to return, and they believe that Grendel's mother definitely killed him. And so everybody has essentially left except for Beowulf's men that are waiting and hoping that he'll return. Then the sword melted, blood-soaked, dripping down like water, disappearing like ice when the world's eternal Lord loosens invisible fetters and unwinds icicles and frost as only he can, he who rules time and seasons, he who is truly God. The monster's hall was full of rich treasures, but all that Beowulf took was Grendel's head and the hilt of the giant's jeweled sword. The rest of that ring-marked blade had dissolved in Grendel's steaming blood, boiling even after his death. And then the battle's only survivor swam up and away from those silent corpses. The water was calm and clean, the whole huge lake peaceful once the demons who lived in it were dead. Then the noble protector of all seamen swam to land, rejoicing in the heavy burdens he was bringing with him. He and all his glorious band of Geats thanked God that their lord had come back unharmed. They left the lake together. The Geats carried Beowulf's helmet and his mail shirt. Behind them the water slowly thickened as the monster's blood came seeping up. They walked quickly, happily across roads all of them remembered, left the lake and the cliffs alongside it, brave men staggering under the weight of Grendel's skull, too heavy for fewer than 4 of them to handle, 2 on each side of a spear jammed through it. Yet proud of their ugly load and determined that the Danes seated in Heorot should see it. Soon 14 Geats arrived at the hall, bold and warlike, and with Beowulf their lord and leader, they walked on the mead hall green. Then the Geats' brave prince entered Heorot, covered with glory for the daring battles he had fought. He sought Hrothgar to salute him and show Grendel's head. He carried that terrible trophy by the hair, brought it straight to where the Danes sat, drinking the queen among them. It was a weird and wonderful sight, and the warriors stared.